Hi, hi friends. I would like to welcome to you all for Thrill Infotech Data Pro training class. So this class I am going to show you the console overview. I am going to take you for the GUI walkthrough, the DataPower user interface walkthrough. So I am going to show you what are the various kind of services available in DataPower and what are the all other troubleshooting options and what are the options to import and export deployable file and creating certificates and managing users um, and data power file structure. I am going to explain you all in this video. This video basically will gives you overview of data power console. Okay, so this is the Thrill Infotech data power box URL. So I am going to log in using my user ID into the box. So I am going to provide my password. So if you click now, it won't allow to log you in because this is in default domain. So default domain is only for admin users. So only admin users can log in into default domain. So all other developers will be provided access to the corresponding project related development domain. So here I have a domain called AD test. So I am going to log into the box. So once I logged in, oh, it's first time. So it's asking me to change the password because it's the first time I am logging in. So I'm going to change the password now. So I am changing my password. So it seems to be I have previously used this password. So it's asking me to change the password again. So once I change the password, come back to that login screen. It asks me to log in again. So I'm going to log in again with my username. So I am going to log into the domain called AD test. So this is the basically data power console looks like. So even if you see it's XI50 box, XI50 there is no much difference between the console level and the GUI level. There's no difference between the XI50 and XI52. The only the other future enhancements I will tell you in the upcoming videos and upcoming training videos. Okay. But XI50 and XI52 the GUI will be mostly same. So data power has these 5 services tab. These services, there are 5 services available in data power. So these all 5 services are very important to learn data power development course, and the administrators should know about each of the services as well. Okay. So let me start with XSL accelerator. So XSL accelerator is mainly used for processing the XMLs. Since the data power is purpose built tool which can process the XML in a very faster way, which means it's process the XML 10 times faster than the other software what you are using to process the XML. It could be any middleware software, installable middleware software, which means it could be a TIPCO product, it could be a WebSphere, it could be a Oracle. So any middleware component you can take. If you try to process some XML, compare the throughput with data power processing speed and your normal software processing speed, the data power will provide you 10 times faster throughput. So that is the one of the main advantage of the data power. So the web application firewall. This web application firewall is used to create the firewall, that is the proxy based firewall for the actual web application which is running on the backend of the organization. So you have some web server or any application server which is running and backend of your organization in within internet network. You want to publish the web application to the real-time consumers, but in the same time you don't want to take a risk by giving the exact IP and port which is or exact DNS name which is pointed to the corresponding application server uh, for to ensure the security. In this case, you can create a web application firewall which is act as a proxy for your actual backend web application. So this web application firewall will give you the dummy data power proxy IP and port which is not relevant to that actual backend web service web application. So you can create a dummy proxy for web application. You can share it with the user. So user has no idea about where the web application is running, and they cannot hack anything because data power they cannot hack anything because it's totally secure device. That's what that is what the main advantage of web application firewall. Let me now going to talk through about XML firewall and web service proxy because these two are related, but there are some difference between these two services. When lot of developers are asking when should I use web service proxy and when should I use XML firewall. So the question is simple. If you have a WSDL file which is web service description language, otherwise some people may call this a service contract. So if you have a service contract in your hand, we are going to call the backend web services based on the endpoint which is mentioned in the service contract. So based on the service contract, we are going to invoke the web service. You have to choose the web service proxy. You don't have any service contract. In which case, assume that in which case you will not have a service contract. All SOAP based service are comes with a service contract. But think about the REST frameworks, the REST web services. The REST web services doesn't comes with the service contracts. So in that case, XML firewall should be the best fit. But I didn't say that you cannot use SOAP based web services in XML firewall. You can use it, but I am just giving the example where and when. The XML and web service proxy firewall both support HTTP and HTTPS protocols. No other protocols will not be supported. The multi-protocol gateway is the main very important topic in data power. You have to know about that because multi-protocol gateway provides various protocol bridging. It supports MQ, SFTP, and FTP, JMS. It supports lot of protocols. So whenever you are going to use with asynchronous communication web service or web service which is fire and forget scenario, in that case multi-protocol gateway which is best suits for you. Also it's handle multiple protocols, that's why it's called multi-protocol gateway. So normally all the developers are using either web service proxy for their web service or multi-protocol gateway for handling different kind of protocols, and XML firewall for REST-based routing, or you could use the multi-protocol gateway for REST-based service as well. It's up to you. It's up to your architectural decisions what you make it. I will always tell you the IBM also always suggested the best practice to follow in data power architectural scenarios. So that we are going to see in upcoming tutorials, upcoming videos. Okay. So this is what about the data power console overview. Now, next, monitoring and troubleshooting. So by the time means you can say it's for troubleshooting any errors or monitoring the logs. What is going on? What are the errors are coming? The request and response are working fine. If you want to go and check the logs, you can do it. So if you click view logs, you can see all the logs corresponding to the this particular domain, which means AD test domain. As of now, I am logged in. It's taking some a long time. Let's see. Probably my internet connection is very slow. That could be one of the reason. So you can see a lot of errors has been happened due to invalid SQL statement, SQL connection, and some invalid endpoint URL. These are errors. These are the warnings. You can see the logs. And again, click to control panel. It's a troubleshooting. Troubleshooting means how you check from in your Windows or any Linux machine. You have a access to that. You have a connection, network connection between one machine to another machine, one machine to server. How we are testing the ping IP. The same concept you can use it here. For example, if you want to see there is a connectivity between this data power box and the Google, you can just type it google.com and just ping it. Confirm ping. So action completed, which means there's no error comes, which means there's a connectivity between google.com and this data port box. That's what it says. This TCP connection test, which is used like kind of telnet. You want to access particular server and you want to verify the particular port on that server is accessible onto in your network. That's what you can test it here. This is set log levels. There is various kind of logs are available. If you by default error log is the by default log, which is so whenever you have a errors in your data box. But normally, if you want to see more information about your service logs and all those things, you can select debug mode, or you can select any available log formats. This is the log events. Log events and the remaining functionality will be covered as part of the main training class. So I will take you the debug probe and what is debug probe and what is the confirms validation. I will take you on detail, and because this is the GUI console overview, so I don't want to get into detail on this class because this is your initial starting stage class. You will come back later in this time. So there's a web service monitor and view status are available where you can go and see the web service monitor and view status. Once you have access to the data power box, you can always go and see that what is there. If you have any doubts, any problems, you can refer the student materials provided to you. Still you have any doubts, please, I am always ready to help you. Files and administration. Here, this is the file management. This will show you the data power file structure. First it shows you certs. Cert is the certificates. So all the certificates whether you are created in data power or you are uploading in data power, which is goes here. Checkpoint is nothing but Before you take a backup of any domain or data power, you can create always a checkpoint, so that if anything goes wrong, you can recover the data power from the checkpoint. So all the checkpoints will be saved here. The the configuration about the particular domain will be saved here. Export. For exporting any, if you are trying to export any of the services to take out the deployable format, it will be saved in the export folder. The local is the very important main folder for you, where you have a rights to create a folder and upload your own XSL schemas, Vistal, any files which is going to be used for data for development. The log store. If you are creating any customized log targets for your service, the corresponding log targets will be stored in log store. The log temp, all the temporary logs will be stored here. Bub set, all the public certificates you are having in your data power will be stored here. SAD sets, all SAD certificate will be stored here. The store, this is the directory you have to understand more. So that this store directory is a kind of IBM library. You cannot change or edit anything inside the store library, which act as a IBM library. IBM by default provide a lot of uh, functionalities where we can reuse in our data for development scenario. Like one of the example is SQL injection and like SOAP validation, XML validation. So all of these things are available in this under the store directory. The temporary, obviously, it has all the temporary files. So this is what the file management, file structure of the data per appliance. System control, which is used for to change the timestamp and uploading of the firmware and restart the domain, reset the domain. For all those things, you can use this system control. Import configuration, export configuration is nothing but export is you are taking out the deployable code from the DataPower box. Import is you are going to deploy the file into DataPower box. Normally, DataPower deployable files are in the zip format. And keys and certificates to manage the keys and certificates what you are going to manage in the DataPower appliance. Apart from this, there is lot of subfolders are here. You can export it, you can expand it, you can see all available options here. And also, if you want to search about anything, you can just type it here. For example, I want to search about crypto tool. What is the crypto options are available? If I type crypto, I have this list of crypto options. So it's not easy to find out everything from this long list, so that the search option will provide the best facility to take out what you want. For example, if you want to have a users active user list and user agent list, you can take it from there. So this is what the data for control panel overview. Also, now this is the time for us to create a XML firewall. So in this section, I am going to start with how to create a simple XML firewall in DataPower application. This is the very simple XML firewall, which is a kind of hello world application. So I will tell you how to create the XML firewall. Just click on XML firewall. That's lot of things, you can ignore it. Click add wizard. So select pass through. What does it mean by pass through? Pass through means it doesn't check anything. Whatever the request is coming, it's going out. That's what pass through. By default, select pass through. If you want, you can change it later. So it's ask you the firewall name. Let me put my first firewall. So it's asking the static backend or loopback proxy. So what is meant by static backend? You are up, you are going to invoke the DataPower XML firewall, which is actually having a backend service running. It's going to call the backend service in our organization, within our organization, or outside of the organization. You have to select static backend. You are always going to talk with the same backend. But in this case, assume that we don't have any backend services. So select loopback proxy. So what does it mean by loopback proxy? The loopback proxy means the data power act as a server for you. So whatever request you are sending it, data power receives the request and it processes the request and give it the response back to you. That's what the loopback proxy. So click next. By default, don't modify anything here. Just note down the port. Here data power always gives you the available 4-digit port by normally, which means which is available in the data power box. Just note down the port and click next. Now commit it, give done and save config. So your configuration is saved. Now I am going to check my firewall, what I have created it. So my first firewall I created it. So this is the pass through, which means it accepts any value, anything. So this is firewall policy. I will tell you more about the policy and XML manager in going forward classes. This is the hollow bed kind of firewall, XML firewall. So the XML firewall policy is nothing but it has some policy how to process the request and how to process the response. Each policy can have multiple rules and each rule can have multiple actions. The icons you are seeing here in the top of this arrow are called actions. So each rule can have multiple actions. All your rules will be appended here. You can select the rule and you can change the rule and you can modify the rule. You can do it whatever you want to apply for the rule, for the policy rule. Let me close this now. So let us test this. I want to test this XML firewall. This is the hollow world firewall. How can I do it? It's very simple. You need to have a SOAP UI. So let me open my SOAP UI. To work with SOAP UI, you have to download SOAP UI free version, which is free for the developers, and you have at least one WSDL or you have a knowledge how to create a project in SOAP UI. I have already created a lot of projects, so let me go and take example for you here. Let's say request one. Double click on that. So this is having some valid SOAP messages. So how to test it? Come here. Just add a new endpoint. So this is going to be HTTP, not HTTPS. We have not enabled a HTTPS here in our firewall. So this is the DataPower IP address. You can see it here. This is the DataPower IP address, and this is the port we need to invoke 2207. So I just modify it. So since I selected as a pass through, whatever you are doing in junk character here, DataPower will respond it back. It's coming back. I want to avoid this junk character. I want to validate these things. So how can we do it? Go here, Instead of request type pass through, select SOAP message. So now apply and save config. Now just try this. What happens? See, because you're having the SOAP, you selected as a SOAP message. DataPower actually validate it's a SOAP message or not. It's a valid SOAP message, well-formed SOAP message, not valid well-formed SOAP message. Then only it's allows. Otherwise, it just ignore the content, malformed content because of the junk characters. If I remove the junk characters, try it now. It's working because we selected as a loopback proxy. Whatever request you are passing it, the same requests coming back as a response because of the loopback proxy. If you actually have any static backend, it will give you the proper response. But this is our first exercise, hollow exercise. So first get familiar with the simple exercises and data power consoles. That's a good starting point. Even though in the SOAP message, if you just forget to close the particular tag, which means it's invalid SOAP message, the body is not closed here. If you try it here, malformed content because the SOAP message uh, standard doesn't match here. Its body should be closed. Try it now. It's okay. So this is how we have to test the simple firewall which is created in DataPower. I hope you have enjoyed this video. So this video I have explained you about DataPower Console overview, and I have taken that example of how to create a simple XML firewall in DataPower, which is with loopback. Firewall type is loopback, which means DataPower act as a server. In the next tutorial, I will take you how to invoke a static backend and how to use various options which are available in the firewall policy, how to use the various options, how to create the multiple rules, and these are the concepts I am going to explain you in upcoming tutorials. Thank you for your time watching the exercises and tutorials and videos. I hope you enjoyed this session and your feedbacks are always welcome. Please visit us at www.treelineinfotech.com for more information. Thanks a lot for your time and have a wonderful day. We'll meet you soon.